So that's one observation. The second one I want to talk about is connected to the introduction and the private member statement that I did today with the Today Family Violence Help Centre that has just opened in Edmonton. And for those of you in Calgary that are a little jealous of this wonderful new centre that's opened in the fabulous constituency of Edmonton Centre, not to worry, because they are working in Calgary to start one there. And actually some people from Calgary have come up to tour through the centre that is opened in Edmonton. But the interesting part of this is that I hear the government talk a lot about administrative efficiencies and finding administrative efficiencies. I hear a lot of people talking about the need to reduce the duplication in the not-for-profit sector. We have too many groups, they say, providing services in certain areas. So here is an initiative that is all about finding administrative efficiencies, housing themselves together in a very accessible place. I've talked to the group about, can you start to keep records of recidivism? If you're actually, if you're able to show that having all of those services grouped together and somebody coming to you is less likely to go back into a cycle of violence because of the way the services are bundled together, that's a very good thing. They're doing exactly what the government talks about. The interesting thing is that the organizations are all having to slice off a piece of their operating funding to devote towards the running of that particular facility, because there's no direct funding to the facility itself. So here you have all those agencies I talked about, the RCMP, the City Police, Alberta Family and Youth Services, there was an Aboriginal consulting organization, John Howard, and Catholic Social Services. So you have all of those organizations that are each contributing towards this particular service delivery model, but they're all having to give up some of their operating money in order to fund the actual facility. And I'm concerned about the long-term sustainability of this particular organization. So one of the effects that I see from the government's particular policy changes that they have been pursuing under this administration is, well, actually it's not a change, a continuing lack of understanding about how the not-for-profit sector operates. And while the not-for-profit sector has been trying to work into the way the government says they want them to work, there's a lack of corresponding funding models coming from the government to help these organizations do exactly what the government asked them to do. So it doesn't help us if they try these innovative new service delivery systems and can't be successful at it when it was saving money overall, because we have a funding model that doesn't understand that one of the pieces needs to be funded differently, and that is the facility model. I don't think that was too complicated, but it's... Do you understand what I'm talking about? Great. Okay, well, President of the Treasury Board was with me, and if he got it, then I'm happy. Good. Okay. Because I think this may well be where we want to go. And I often push back when people say, oh, there's too many not-for-profits and they're all delivering the same service. And I tend to push back and go, well, not necessarily. There's, bundling everybody together and ending up with larger and larger organizations to deliver this kind of service isn't necessarily a good thing. And I think what the government's experiencing under its particular, with the move they've made with Alberta Health Services is a perfect example of that. And I don't know that in the end we're going to be incredibly happy with taking the control away from local decision-making and moving it up the ladder and making that organization huge. I think there's going to turn out to be longer-term effect of how that whole system gets administered. And I would argue, in defense of the not-for-profits, that they need to guard against that. But I am very interested that organizations have taken the government seriously and have sought ways to both deliver their services better. They're willing to innovate, they're willing to think outside of the box, and they're willing to take into consideration what the government is telling them about a weariness from the government of spending money on the same issue, if I can put it that way, to a number of different organizations. And here we have a bunch of them coming together to try something innovative. So I hope there is support from the government to at least give them long enough to see if the model works. Because if we end up with funding cut off in the next fiscal year, we'll never know if this worked, and we will spend a bunch of money to get here. It's got to run for long enough to see if we actually get the stats back that tell us it's a good model. So that's the second thing I wanted to talk about, the choices that I see being made here.